Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is Luke from Guild Umbra. In this video, we will be touching base on the Stalker DPS role. Going to try to do a build, but I'm also going to talk a little bit about the abilities. But before I go there, let's talk a little bit about the Stalker Innate. The Stalker Innate has three stances, if you will. One stance is called lethality stance, excuse me, if I can get it out. And basically in this stance, this is going to be the stance you're going to be in, I'd say 100%, maybe 95% of the time as a DPS Stalker. It increases your assault power, but it also decreases your resistances, so that it brings you supposedly to par with some of the other light armor classes. So it's a trade-off, but like I said, you're going to be in this stance 95% of the time, probably 99% of the time as a DPS Stalker. The next stance is agility or agile stance. Basically, this stance allows you to move quicker in stealth. So for all you stance dancers out there, this might not be a bad idea to position yourself quickly behind a boss or behind a group of mobs, and then switch quickly to lethality stance so you can do your damage. And you'll see in my next coverage of the Stalker, I'll talk a little bit about the evasive stance, as that's more of a tanking stance for the Stalker. I won't go into that now. But anyway, let's talk about some abilities. The first one is called Shred. It's your spammable ability. It doesn't cost suit power, which is your resource as the Stalker. So this is a spammable ability. First time you hit it, it does physical damage 3 times to up to 5 foes. Pretty standard. The next ability is a pretty cool ability, and it's probably the main one you will be using to do your single target damage, is Impale. Impale costs 35 suit power. It doesn't have a cooldown. But I believe your suit power starts off at 100, so you can get roughly almost 3 off impales before you have to wait to do anything else. But like I said, it's your main damage ability, and some cool little things to know: if you're behind the enemy, it does more damage. If you're in stealth, it does more damage. So just some FYI. Next ability is called Analyze Weakness. This is a ability that you cast. It's a single line telegraph, and when you cast it, it has a chance to mark up to 5 foes for 15 seconds. And whenever you deal damage on these marked foes, it consumes the mark and deals a certain amount of technology damage. The cool thing to note is if you have this ability on your bar, it does not break you from stealth by casting it. So not a bad idea. FYI again. The next ability is like an AoE ability. It's called Neutralize. It costs 15 suit power. Deals technology damage up to 5 foes. And the suit power, something to note, the suit power cost is increased by 5 each time if used within 8 seconds of the previous use. Stacks 3 times. If used from stealth, the cost is not increased. So, this is your main AoE ability. Not a bad ability, but you have to be careful with spamming it, as you will be out of suit power and all you'll be able to do is shred away, which is not a lot of damage. Next ability is called Punish. It is a instant cast, 8-second cooldown. Deals physical damage to 5 foes and regenerates 30 suit power. Usable after landing a critical hit. Now the thing to note about this ability is you don't necessarily have to land it on enemies in order to get the regenerated suit power. So this is something I learned in the forums. I don't know if that is working as has been intended to work, but at least for right now, if you're like me and you have difficulty landing those really narrow telegraphs that the Stalker has on enemies, for whatever reason, whether it be lag or whatnot, it's good to note that you can regenerate 30 suit power, regardless of whether you hit the enemy or not. So that covers the assault abilities that I'll talk about for right now. In the utility abilities, the first ability I chose was Stagger. This is your most reliable CC, as it's somewhat easier to land than most of your other abilities. Being a melee, is a lot of your telegraphs are a lot harder to land, and it destroys 1 interrupt armor, can stun up to 5 foes. Next ability I chose is called False Retreat. Basically, you leap back when you use this ability. Whichever direction you're facing, you leap back on the first press. Now on the second press of the ability, you leap back to where you just were, and it deals physical damage and knocks down foes. It also destroys 1 interrupt armor, so not bad ability to run in those dungeons if you need an extra CC. Prevents any action except dash for 2 seconds. That's what the knockdown does. The next and last ability that I chose with this particular build was Preparation. Basically it generates 6 suit power every 0.5 seconds, plus grants Empower and Defense each tick, stacked 7 times. The Empower increases critical chance by 3% for 4 seconds. The Defense increases deflect chance by 3% for 4 seconds. The main reason I chose this ability is it gives you another option other than your punish to generate suit power. So the second reason I take it is because it increases your critical chance of your impales or any other ability after you've channeled it. And an important thing to notice is you don't have to go the full channel. Okay, you can stop it at any time, simply by rolling or canceling the ability. So obviously, you know, like I stated in many of my other videos, there's a lot of abilities you can switch out. Okay, if you need more mobility in a fight, Pounce. It's a good movement ability. The secondary bonus of the ability is that it snares if you land the telegraph on the enemy. So that's not a bad ability. I wouldn't go with Reaver, simply because this is more of a tank utility ability. So, because it does a taunt, and obviously as a DPS you're not going to want to taunt targets. You want to be burning through them and, you know, just massacring. You know what I mean? So Reaver, big no-no as a DPS Stalker, in my opinion. Another ability that's kind of cool, but, you know, I don't really see its uses in PvE, more of a PvP ability, is Tether Mine. Basically, when you click on the ability, you have a circle telegraph that you can move around the room and drop this tether mine. And when someone runs over that area, they get tethered. And until they destroy the tether, they can't really move away from that area. So, kind of a funny ability in PvP, but I wouldn't be taking it in PvE. Let's say this next ability, let's say that you have a lot of issues with threat. You want to throw all your burst out there and you don't care if you pull or not. Well, if you're that way and you can't control yourself because you want to just kill something so badly, I get that after work a lot because my work pisses me off. So I feel you. I feel you, dog. Um, I would take this ability. It flips you backwards 8 meters, drops threat, and activates stealth. It's called Tactical Retreat. So basically it's a threat drop. It's a way we can drop our threat, and so we don't piss off those tanks as much, in fights and group situations. Bloodthirst, this to me is more of it falls into that PvP range. I could find its uses in PvE, but in order to get this ability, you have to spend a lot of points and amps to get it. And in my opinion, for PvE purposes, not really something I would go with. PvP, it would be great. If you're running as like this utility PvP type of build, but for simplistic stake, we will not be talking about this ability. Collapse. This is another option in PvE. Let's say, for example, you want to help the tank out by bringing in foes, because a lot of the tanks have issues, except for the engineer, with landing their telegraphs and generating threat. Well, this ability helps them out because it pulls the 3 furthest foes, it destroys interrupt armor, so it's a CC, and allows your tank to pick up all 3 of the foes easily. So, it's not a bad idea to put this on your bar in PvE. I could see it. Lastly, Stim Drone. This is not really an ability I would choose as a DPS Stalker. In my opinion, it would fall into the tanking Stalker builds a lot more if I used it at all. But it restores health and grants boost to yourself. Boost is it increases your maximum health by a certain percent for 10 seconds. Stacks up to 3 times. So it's similar to, I don't know if you remember back in my Esper video where you had that multi-tap ability where the first time you use it, it uses a charge. And then you have 2 more charges. And it boosts your health up. If that makes sense. I think that's how it works. I'll be honest with you guys, the highest level I've ever gotten with the Stalker was level 25. And that was just PvP and mainly. But I do have some experience with playing the Stalker in PvE environments, dungeons and whatnot, adventures and whatnot. So, in this particular build, I chose, let's talk about tiers real quick. I chose a tier 4 Shred. If used from behind or in stealth, Shred pierces 60% of the target's armor. Not bad. Not bad at all. But this is the real reason why I take the tier 8, because I have to take the tier 4 to get to tier 8. And the tier 8 generates 2 suit power every 1 second for 5 seconds. Stacks 2 times. So if I'm reading that right, you basically get 2 suit power every 1 second up to 5 seconds. So that's 10 suit power. And if it stacks 2 times, that means, if my math's right, you get 20 suit power. So basically 20% of your total suit power you get back just by using Shred, which, is kind of like your filler ability when your impales are taking all your suit power and you're waiting for it to regenerate back up. So that's the reason I take tier 8. Next, tier 4 Impale. Pierces 30% armor if used from behind or in stealth. Again, as a Stalker, it's very beneficial to be behind the target or attacking from stealth. So if you're going to be doing that anyway, why not take it? But again, just like with Shred, Tier 4, I had to take Impale's Tier 4 to get to Tier 8, simply because the Tier 8 is cost reduced to 30 suit power each time you use it, and you regenerate 12 suit power when you use Impale, it kills a foe. So, it's reduced amount of suit power every time I use Impale, and I have a chance if I kill the foe with the Impale, it regenerates more suit power. So think of it like this: if I am regenerating suit power, I am able to produce more damage, more burst damage, more overall damage, and it's not a bad idea. Again, this is my opinion. I went with the Tier 4 Punish. It applies and expose, which it increases physical damage taken by 4.5% for 6 seconds. Not bad. The Tier 8 for Punish always generates 30 suit power on use. If used while below 35 suit power, generate an additional 15 suit power. So if I'm reading that right, if I get 2 impales off, that's 70 suit power. I'm automatically below 35 suit power. So if I have a punish proc, critical proc, and I use it, instead of generating 35 suit power, just 35 suit power, it adds an additional 15, which is 50 suit power. So I regenerate half of my suit power that I can get totally. So not bad, not bad. I didn't take any tiers over here. This is more or less, abilities that, like the tree states, utility. A lot of the tier 4s weren't worth it, in my opinion, to take. So anyway, that covers the tiers and the abilities for this particular build. Maybe if we have time later, I'll go back over a little bit of the assault tree abilities and what they do. So, amps. Amps are static stat increases in Tier 1, and everything in Tier 2 and Tier 3 are either abilities that you can pick up and add to your action set bar, or they are like temporary stat boosts. Or excuse me, temporary, yes, stat boosts is based off of like certain spells you use. So, and what the outcome of those spells are. So if that makes sense. But little info on amps. From level 6 to level 50, you get 1 amp per level that you can use in these trees. And you'll notice some of these amps cost more. Tier 2 typically costs about 4 amps to get that particular amp. So at level 50 you'll have 45 amps. In order to get the remaining 10 amps to build out this build, you have to get what's called Elder Gems. Elder Gems are received via questing, daily questing, in the daily quest areas, and you buy the remaining amps in order to fill out this build. So just a little FYI. Let's dive right in. These are amps that you kind of take, crit hit severity is when I critical hit, it adds more damage to that critical hit, so bigger critical hits. Crit hit chance is the ability to hit critically more often. So why not take it? This is a no-brainer. The more assault power you have, the more damage you do. And so that's a no-brainer to me if I'm a DPS Stalker. Brutality Mastery. In the assault tree, it is tier 2. While above 70% health, you gain Empower. Empower increases brutality by 30% of your current maximum. I like that it's 70% health and not like the previous videos that I did where I think it was 100% health would increase your main stat, because a lot of people just ain't that awesome at this game. I'm sorry. I can only speak for myself, I guess, but I'm not that great at this game, so I'm going to get hit, and obviously my health is going to go down. But as long as that health stays above 70%, I get this stat increase. And increases your main stat, your main source of damage by 30%. I'll take that. Devastate. Devastate, your critical hits deal 27% physical damage to foes below 25% health. Damage pierces 100% armor. Now this amp sort of synergizes with a lot of our tier abilities, where the tier 4 Shred pierced 60 if behind or used from stealth. Shred pierces 60% armor. And the Impale pierced 30% armor if used from behind or in stealth. So, you have all this armor piercing. Now, I've never been a fan of armor piercing, at least the smaller percentages, because, I mean, when you think about it, I think in the past, yeah, actually it's right down here, armor pierce 2, 4, 6%. Well, what's 6% of, I don't know, 6,000? I mean, that's not shit for armor pierce. But in this case, when a target drops below 25% health, you do 27% more damage, physical damage, to that foe, and that damage pierces 100% of their armor. So it's unmitigated, in other words. So to me, it's not a have to have, but it's pretty damn close to it. I have to have amp for the DPS Stalker. The next one, Onslaught. Landing a hit from behind has a 100% chance to grant Empower. Empower increases your assault power by 12% of your current maximum for 6 seconds. Again, secondary stat, primary one is assault power. So if I have an amp that increases that, guess what? I'm taking it. That's just me. Killer Instinct. All non-critical hits grant you Empower. Empower increases critical hit chance by 1% for 8 seconds. Your next critical hit resets the Empower bonus. Now this is one of those amps that, you could take or leave, obviously, in my opinion, it's not super fantastic like the other amps are. But I was kind of having a difficult time. I was at like 51 out of 55 amps, and I wanted to fill out the build. I didn't want to leave it, with 51. So I chose this ability. Okay, so keep that in mind. You can always take that amp out if you think it sucks, and go with something like CC Resilience, or if you want more max shield capacity, jump on it. Or a combination of things. Obviously you don't want to go like PvP offense or defense. So, I spent a lot of time trying to figure out whether or not these other tier 2s would be worth it. But a lot of them are like situational amps, and I don't know. I mean, the only one honestly I would go with if I didn't take this amp that seems pretty cool to me is, let's say, Who's Next. Killing blows recover 101% shield capacity. So basically, if you were in one of those boss mechanic fights where, obviously everybody's going to get hit. So naturally your shield is going to be going down along with your health. You're a DPS guy. Obviously, if you're good, you're going to be killing people. If you suck, you're not going to be, doing as good with this amp. So I just wanted to throw that out there, give you options. I just went with Killer Instinct because it sounded cool. Not really. But anyway, moving on. The tier 3, Battle Mastery. While below 30% suit power, gain Empower. Empower is damage is increased by 8%. More damage? Yes, sir. I will take that. Yes, please. Now I talked to my last stat in my last video about stat priorities and how it's important to get to your 12% strike through if you want to get into raids and whatnot. That's just the amount of strike through that you need in order for your attacks to not get deflected. In other words, you don't do damage. So 3% strike through, okay, I'll take it. Next is lifesteal. 6% of your damage might not seem much. Basically 6% of your, excuse me, let me explain it before I actually talk about it. Lifesteal, basically the total damage that you do with an attack, in this case 6% of that total damage is transferred to you as health. Now that might not seem like much, but it probably isn't. And I could see skipping this amp early on because your damage is not as high. But really and truly, looking at my abilities, there's not anything that heals me at all. So why not take it? Is my question. You know, where else are you going to put the amps? Is my other question. You know. So anyway, unfair advantage. Basically, I took this amp because attacks that consume suit power when used from stealth cost 8 less suit power. Now most stalkers are going to be attacking from stealth. Most stalkers. And so by taking this amp, any attack that you do from stealth, it costs 8 less suit power. So, you know, going back over here and looking at our Impale, which is at tier 8 by the way, the cost is reduced by 30, or reduced to 30 suit power. So if I'm from stealth, that Impale costs me, with that amp, 22 stealth. I mean 22 suit power, rather. So, you know, it's not a bad idea to take that amp, in my opinion. Next amp is Cutthroat. Attacks from behind. Add a stack of Cutthroat. At 3 stacks, the mark is consumed and deals 44% technology damage. This damage ignores shields. So, you know, it's not a bad ability amp, or rather, to take, because if you're a good stalker, you'll be attacking from the back. You know, because your impales do more damage from behind, you know, or stealth. So, you know, since you're going to be doing that anyway, at 3 stacks, the mark is consumed and deals 44% more technology damage. So, you know, I'm not going to say it's a have-to-have amp, but if it gives me the opportunity to do more damage, then I'm going to take it. That's just my opinion. Armor Pierce, I already talked about that. I'm not going to go on another rant. In my last few abilities, amps rather, that I filled out were Dash Regen. Cooldowns are not a issue with the Stalker. It's why I did not choose them. The last amp that I'll talk about is Can't Stop This. Yes, MC Hammer. Alright, dashing has a 25% chance to refund 25% of a dash charge. So by dashing, getting out of telegraphs, or dashing to get into position, whatever you're using it for, you have a chance to refund 25%. Now that, coupled with the regeneration, 21% dash regeneration, means that I have the ability to be more mobile as a stalker, because I'm getting dash charges up faster, if that makes sense. So anyway, that's kind of my basic build that I'll talk about in this video. In the next video, we'll talk about another build. I think I can do another one. So anyway, thank you guys for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed the video. This is Luke from Guild Umbra. If you like what you saw, hit that like button on YouTube. If not, well, I guess you're not going to watch the next video. But also, if you're watching on Twitch, follow me so you can see the next videos that I post, and we can learn some stuff together. Appreciate everyone who's tuned in and supported the videos. I have had a blast, and I will keep them going. Have a good night.